Thank Godot, it's Friday. How's everyone doing? Here we are. Time to do a little more game dev before the weekend. I have a fresh cup of coffee, which I almost never have at this time of day. It's exciting. I'm going to try not to slurp the coffee right in front of the microphone, but we'll see. Coffee is too tempting to ignore. All right. So I'm really hoping this is the last day we work on the cutaway system on stream. We're going to either finish it today or I'm going to finish it over the weekend. I think it's time. What streaming software do I use? I use OBS. So I use the open broadcasting software. You want to start streaming again? New comp? Nice. Yeah, I use OBS and I use a plugin which lets me multi-stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Be happy to go into the details later. How that's all set up. There's a bit of a risk streaming from the same computer that you're using for dev. Like, if the dev computer crashes, the stream crashes, stuff like that. And I honestly would have been a lot more afraid of that sort of thing in Unity. But Godot is really good about not crashing the computer. All right, we're going to do some cleanup first. That's what we're going to do here. But we just need to work out some little bugs. Maybe not bugs, some unintended behavior. And I'm just alphabetizing my member variables here, as I like to do. All right. Did that break anything? All right, here we go. Yeah, so I don't mind using the same computer for both. If it's a beefy computer, which if you got a new computer, it probably is, it's probably fine. The only thing you definitely need is like a multi-monitor setup, because I have like a monitor to the side here that has like OBS and like Twitch chat and YouTube chat and all that stuff. And like a, a preview of what's showing on the screen. But yeah, it's been pretty easy. I thought it would be more complicated to do. But it's been pretty easy. I just realized today that the Bay Area Godot meetup is tomorrow. I'd forgotten. So that's exciting. So no stream tomorrow. But we weren't going to do game dev anyway. We were just going to play Void War. So unfortunately, we'll have to move our Void War stream to next Saturday. What do I want to listen to? I want to listen to some chill guitar music. Yeah, nice. All right, so some of the weird behavior that we're seeing. It's mostly around some edges of some things. So if we generate like a volume here. I don't like using the half cutaway for the exterior cut. So I think we're going to change how that works. So we start like putting intermediate things here like this. We get a nice terrace up top. It's nice and clean. It's pretty close to what I want. I don't like the half wall on this far side here where it goes up one and then just ends. I think I understand how to do that, how to deal with that, but maybe I don't. I think there's a simple check we can make for that. And then there's this other thing that happens. Watch if I split this in half. So you can kind of see this weird little shift there. So it's correctly handling the edge here inside the cursor compartment, but outside the cursor compartment it's not. So I need to understand the source of that bug. And then I want to fix this edge case here. What about streaming to kick? I do not know anything about streaming to kick, unfortunately. I know it's kind of the edgy, you know, place to be. I don't totally like the way this treats these walls like this either. The way it handles some of these walls in here. Like the interior walls when you're doing this, when you're like mousing around. I don't love this behavior. Interesting. So yeah, let's work on some edge case stuff. So we need to check here for if you're at like the actual edge of the construction and then to just not do the half wall cutout there. But then the question is like, well, what do you cut out? And that's a good question. And I think the answer is we do a full wall cutaway. But maybe not. No, maybe we just do the full cut. And then when you're outside the compartment, why is that happening? All right, let's dig in. I think we have a good example of what we're looking at here. Oh, Nancy Bowman. How's it going? Welcome to the Twitch chat. All right, so this issue is somewhere in here where we're setting up the half cut mask. Second pass to match the blocks along the lower edges of the cursored rooms as we move up and back. So this just handles the cursored rooms, right? All right, so third pass to mask the blocks extending from the lower edges of the half-cut terrace towards the camera. This is where the problem is originating from. So we go through every single coordinate in the half-cut mask. And the thing is, we're stepping forward from those coordinates. So what we need to do is, if we're at an edge, if we're along an edge, we need to be careful about how we extend. How are we evaluating that? So right now we're saying if half-cut mask contains this coordinate plus this and plus that, continue, right? If half-cut mask dot contains block coordinates plus vector 3i dot x. So if we cast along the x and we are part of this, we go along the y. Oh, I see. I see what's happening here. Huh. Hey, Nix. How's it going? Appreciate all your thoughts in the Discord yesterday. I responded to your suggestions in the suggestion box. Appreciate those. I think it's cool stuff to think about. We're really not going to dig into a lot of that stuff until we got the simulation going. But I think that's something I want to tackle soon. All right, we have a chat bot here in Twitch. Time to hit him with the ban hammer. Blasted. That's always fun. That always cheers me up. All right, so here's the problem: is we're essentially extending forward. We're extending the cutaway forward towards the camera, but we're doing it from these edge points that don't work. First, we got to finish the building code. Yeah, exactly. I actually think I want to finish this cutaway stuff today or this weekend, so we can move on to something else on stream next week. And I think part of that is going to be setting up a Kanban board for specifically the tile block editor. Just because I think I know exactly all of the things that need to be done to consider this feature finished. And this is the first of the 4 major features we need for the MVP. So I think I'm going to knock that Kanban board together. I got to get like a Kanban... I mean, I don't technically need to get a Kanban plugin for Obsidian, but I'm going to see if there is one that I like. Because Obsidian, you could just make blocks like this and move them around or whatever. And I'll probably just do that, honestly. I probably don't even need a plugin. But I think I need to start... If I really want to get this part done, as long as I'm in like an exploration phase, I don't mind not having like a list of like a to-do list. But once I'm moving to like the production phase and I have a pretty good idea of everything we need to do to have the feature finished, I think it's a good idea to move to that point. And we'll get some speed under us, hopefully. Because I would like to move on to the shipboard simulation soon. Because that's really the meat and potatoes of the game. Is what's happening inside the ship. What would be the tile block editor? Just a way for modders to create custom tile sets, like for different types of ships. It's the way all ships are made. So it's for me too. It's like it's the tool that makes the ships that we use to build the ships. So it's the thing that I'm playing around with in here. And right now you can build compartments and walls and place doors and stuff, but I broke serialization, so I need to restore serialization. And we need to add some additional features. But I am very happy with the half block cutaway that we implemented. I think it looks really great, especially when we start talking about doors. Like if I throw some doors down here. Before you really couldn't tell if there was a door, but now if you cut away half the door, you can really still see that, yes, there's a door there. I think that's pretty good. Oh yeah, I need to rethink the outline cutaway too, don't I? Or not the outline cutaway, the tile, the auto tiler outlining. I need that to be conscious of the auto tile. So, all right, what's the condition for this? So let's like block this off. So there's this effect that I don't like, which is this. So we're noticing this upper edge here at the T-junction here on the one level up. We're noticing that, and then we're cutting away past that too much. There really needs to be a half block cutaway. So we need to notice when we're at that edge. So we need to extend. So like if we're extending, how do I identify which way to extend though? That's a conundrum. So in this example, it's along the y-axis when we're on the x-axis edge. Oh, no worries. No worries. I'm just trying to verbalize what we're looking at. Just so people can follow along. Because a lot of people aren't really paying attention to what we're doing. They're just co-working with us, just hanging out. I'm not necessarily soliciting input, though I'm obviously open to input. It's just part of the process, just to describe what we're working on and the problem we're addressing. So what we could say, so we could look forward. We could say, oh, so we can figure out if we're at an edge if we look at both and both are false. Yeah, okay. So it's in this bottom case here, the else if, or no, the else. And so what we're doing with the else is interesting. We actually don't need to do it this way. The problem, though, is how can you tell? Okay. So we can ask this. We can ask if half-cut mask.contains, we can say block chords minus. We can do a couple of these. So if the negative x Then, so if negative x is contained, we'll go along y again. Okay, so we do this. Let's see if this just sorts us out here. I actually don't think we need this case. So let's get rid of that case. I don't see why we need to iterate through the EABB like that. We should just be able to extend from these. Hold on. Oh, I see. I think I see the problem. I see where the problem will be, but let's address that problem second. Let's sort this specific thing we're looking at first, and then we can deal with the consequences of this next problem. Yep, there's part of it. You can see in the back one of the consequences of what I just did. But let's see. All right, I can work with that. What's happening there? Let's see if I fix the thing I was trying to fix, though. Okay, sort of. The answer to that is sort of. The only thing I wanted was this unbroken floor line here. That's what I wanted to achieve. There's obviously some knock-on effects with the terracing. And then, so... what about this? Does this... Yep, that's this big gray block is the problem I was anticipating. How do I want to deal with that? I think I know. I think I can tell. I think what we can do is up here, we can say... All right, so we need to do an additional pass to fix that thing. Let's work on the terracing first, though. I can think of a better way to do this, I believe. Oh, I see why we're not doing it this way. We're not doing it this way to handle irregular shapes. There are irregular shapes that will break this. I'm thinking of like the golden path or whatever, of like the best case scenario where the rooms are just squares. But I have to think about the possibility that the room is not square. I could also just not care very much. But I would like to. I would like to handle that properly. So that's why we're not doing it this way. Okay. What can we do instead then? Hey, Shenanigans. It's always annoying having to defensively program against things not always being the optimal scenario. I know, and there's a world in which I could just say, this is close enough. Like, you just grab an axis-aligned bounding box, and it would cover, like, the vast majorities of situations, because most of the times, rooms are square. But what if you have something weird? What if you have, like, a hallway that's, like, horseshoe-shaped or something? Like, what if you've done something weird? Or you have, like, maybe, like, a more of an hourglass-shaped room or something like that. Like, honestly, we could probably... I'm kind of tempted to not worry about it, if I'm being honest, in that scenario. And, like, I think the good enough solution would truly be good enough. But if it's easy to do it correctly, let's try to do it correctly. If we aren't able to crack it, we will revert to a somewhat more robust yet imprecise solution. Refining the cutaway system more today. Yeah, I really want to put this issue to bed. I want to get something this weekend that I consider good enough for now, and we can just stop working on this because it's been weeks, if I'm being honest. And it is an important thing. This is like the way that people see into the ship. This is like the most important like UI thing, is like, how do you even see into the ship? So it's like crucial, but also there's other things we need to do. But how are you doing? Happy Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. Even though I had a day off yesterday, it was just enough of a day off to really, really make me resent being at work today. And not just having a long weekend. All right. All right, messing with this is going to be a lot of finagling that I don't exactly want to do. I'm going to attempt a slightly different approach here. I'm going to attempt a simpler approach that would be really nice because it would be a lot less work for the auto tiler. So it would involve making a new boundary, a new buffer. It wouldn't be a compartment buffer. Well, it would be a compartment buffer, but it would be a compartment bounds buffer. I'm gonna make a room buffer. Call it room buffer. Sounds like I'm saying Roomba. You're doing not too bad. Another hectic work week. Looking forward to a relaxing weekend. Nice, nice. You're an iBuffer component. Actually, you don't get an AABB, do you? You're an iBuffer component. What do you buffer? You buffer a block. This is going to buffer... This doesn't even actually need to be a buffer. Yeah, this could be a component, like an actual component. I'm going to say AABB. So you buffer access align bounding blocks. You need to implement the members of this. Buffer ID and length. You need to implement these basic things. Question is, should length... Length is probably just the thing that we pass in here. You have to pass in a length for this, right? You can't not, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, we need a secondary constructor, right? Okay, so this room buffer will let us... This just gives us a collection of rooms, which are just axis aligned bounding boxes. That's a new component type. I'm going to get rid of this compartment buffer. It's not terribly descriptive. I mean, neither is a room buffer, but I'm sure some stuff will be unhappy now that this has occurred. So, yeah, you're not going to exist. You're going to be replaced by the room buffer. Not the ROM buffer, the room buffer. I'm going to start calling them rooms instead of compartments. It's just much shorter. Flags dot room buffer. Need to actually make a flag for that. Alright, the world is not happy with me because get archetype, set component, new compartment buffer. Wait, what? Why is this hard coded here? It doesn't make any sense. Hold on a second. Set buffer component. Flags type flag. This should say new T1. Cannot provide arguments when creating an instance of a type parameter. Right. Can we not do this like this? T2 values. Do I actually have to pass in an example of T1? Component equals get component T1 entity ID. Oh, component. We just say set component. We say component component.buffer ID. Get component type flag. Component.buffer ID. Oh, that implies that the component already exists. Set component. No, we just say, we don't make a new one. We just say component with length equals values.length. Okay, length needs an init. Probably some people who need that now. Shenanigans, you've been working with your colleague, doing a lot of design about game mechanics and story, classes, abilities, enemies, guests, quests, etc. You're trying to work on the tools to make it easier to collaborate there and in a way that is valid game data. Nice, interesting. Oh, this is your colleague who's like a experienced dungeon master, right? That's really cool. And so they're more of a designer, and you're trying to provide them some tools so that they can maybe more speak your language. That's super cool. Compartment buffer doesn't exist anymore. That's fine. We are not going to create a hierarchy anymore. And I like the word compartment, but it's just too long. I find myself shortening it, and then when I just call it part, it loses its meaning. So we are going to finish just calling this a room. So, okay, this is fine. I'm not going to worry about this error right now. Where are the other errors? Part hierarchy. Yeah, we don't need to worry about this. This are we going to do this? All right. Okay, so now we can say component with length equals values.length. That's great. So we can still set a buffer component that's already been declared. I would like a world where you could alter the size of the buffer without changing the component.
Maximum warp.
Yeah, maximum warp, no jewel. How's it going? Happy Friday. All right, it's the only remaining. Okay, block buffer 3D is AABB.volume. So that shorthand doesn't work. So can I say, like, get... What's the syntax for this? So we just say AABB.length. Can you correct this for me? Like this. This is my moment where I'm like, what is the syntax for this? Oh my god. And now I just can't even type. Is it just this? Okay, it's that. Okay, and then init. Actually don't want to support init. Throw. We technically need to support an init, but if you try to set the length of a block buffer 3D, that is not what you should be doing. Huh. I'll have to think about this, because eventually we are going to want to be able to do that, but right now we don't have to worry about it. We're just going to pretend like it's not a problem. Minimum warp when. Diginanigans, yeah, he's a professional editor and has been doing writing for many years as well, so works well helping to flesh things out. That's really nice. It's really nice. All right, so now instead of getting the compartment hierarchy, which is pretty slick, and I actually don't think I want to... Actually, I want to retain this. I think I want to retain a version of this function for now. I'm just going to stop using it. Real question is, when do we... Oh. So can we just do this here? What do we get back from the interior flood fill? We get back a list of visited. We get a span back. And then when I'm getting the compartment, when I'm doing this, how am I doing this? We just pass in that. Parts equals blocks.get coords.parts. For each coords in block, parts equals 0, continue. So if we do this, if we move to this system... No, we still need to have this. Okay. But this might simplify our cutaway problem. So let's presume we're gonna do it this way. So I'm gonna call this private static void get room bounds, and we're going to pass in a couple of things. Actually, it might not be a void. It might be a read-only span. Of AABB. And we would need buffer 3D read-only blocks. All right, so we're gonna basically read through the blocks, and we're gonna basically create the bounding boxes for each room. And that's not gonna be perfect because rooms don't have to be square, but I think it might be good enough for the cutaway system. And if that's true, that vastly simplifies the amount of work the auto tiler has to do, or the tile system, which would be really great. And it might be good enough where I just don't care. And if it's not good enough, then we can go back and try a more complicated methodology or address the edge cases. All right, so instead of this whole mess, instead of this thing, we're gonna do so we can get a count out of compartmentalize. Ooh. If we're getting a count out of that, we could do something else entirely. We could just get it straight out of this. That's how we used to do it, and it worked. Let's see if that'll work here. What does reset compartments do? Okay, that resets all the blocks. Cool. So what we want to do is we want to say variable rooms equals new Here's the thing I'm thinking about. Right now this is set up to be a dynamic buffer. So it's of varying length, and we increase it or shorten it depending on what we need to do. So we don't want to actually do that in here. What we could do as an alternative would be to make it just a component and give it a static size. Give it a size of like 64 or something like that, which is currently the maximum number of rooms we support anyway. And that's not like a huge number. Like an AABB for us is just 2 vector 3s. That's it. Which is not huge. Even if it was 2 vector 4s, which we'll just say for the sake of argument that it is. That's just 256 bits. And that times 64. 16,384. So that's exactly the size of one chunk. So this would all fit in one chunk. Wait, what am I talking about? That can't be a component. I mean, it could, but I don't think I want to have a component that's the size of one chunk. Never mind. We could make a compartment its own entity, but that seems dumb. I don't think we want to do that. I think what we will do is we'll have a dynamic buffer of the compartments. And then as we'll make it a dynamic buffer because it might get bigger. Right now, it's just a bounding box. But yeah, eventually we could provide more information about it there. And then that information can be applied to the blocks that belong to that compartment. And so it's okay if the bounding box is inaccurate, because we would still go through the list of blocks and be like, you're in this bounds. Are you actually part of this compartment? Which it will know because it has a bit field that says all of the compartments it belongs to. So, okay, that will work. That will work. We will do it like this. And in that case, we actually want to do it down here. So we want to get the count, and then what we can do is we can say variable say room buffer equals new buffer 3D read write. No, we don't need to do that. We actually want to get the component. Room buffer component equals game.world.get component room buffer game.world.settled blocks component.flags room buffer. Okay, so we'll get this component. We will say if room buffer comp dot length is the same as count, that is the ideal path. Otherwise, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to resize the buffer. Almost forgot about my coffee. Okay. Coffee's a good idea. I agree, Nix. Coffee is always a good idea. Normally I would get coffee after this, but I had this breakfast that was so large that it was like a 2-coffee breakfast. And I had to do it. I had enough of the breakfast left where I was like, it's time to make a second cup of coffee. All right, we're heading into ads. Get ready on the Twitch side. Don't worry, we're not going to do anything while you're gone. Mainly just because of how slow I am and how slow my progress is. It's not that I won't be working, it's just that we won't accomplish anything during the 3 minutes of ads. Alright, so if the room buffer comp is the same as the count length, that's super easy. Then what we can do is we can go into this new function, which is get room bounds. In fact, what we can do is we can even say we actually want to call this set room bounds, I think. And this is a void. And we want to actually pass in the bounds. Buffer, read write, AABB, bounds. Should say rooms. You've been procrastinating putting on another batch of coffee. I think that's the one thing you shouldn't procrastinate. I love how predominant coffee is in just the history and life of like programming or whatever. There's that joke that like the very first webcam was just so like some engineers at like HP or something didn't have to like walk across the campus just to find like an empty coffee pot. I don't remember the specifics, but it's something like that. All right, so we do an interior flood fill. Keep picking up your coffee cup to take a drink and being disappointed it's empty. It's disappointing when it's empty. It's even more disappointing when it's like room temperature. It's like the one temperature coffee can't be. It can be cold, it can be hot. The only thing I find repulsive is like when it's just room temperature coffee. Only unacceptable form of coffee. All right, so what we're doing, so we'll handle the case where we have to resize the buffer in a second, but what I wanted to say is, so if not, we can just say get or set room bounds, and we can say, we can pass in new, well, we can pass in settled blocks. And we can pass in new buffer read write AABB room buffer comp. I wonder if I should phrase this differently. I wonder if it should be like room buffer comp dot read write and room buffer comp dot like read only instead of having just to declare a new. Why did I do it this way? I don't totally remember why I did it this way. Instead of just having properties here or something. Oh, is it because you don't know about the type? No, you know about the type. Be like public read buffer. Read-only span. Block. Do you not know about the game world? Is that the problem? Is that the reason we don't do it this way? Eh, who cares? I'm sure I had a reason. The webcam thing was a couple of researchers in Cambridge, England. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Their April Fool's joke is that they made an HTTP status code 418 that means I'm a teapot, which is part of the official protocol spec. I've seen that. Because there's a hilarious website that just gives you pictures of all the HTTP status codes as like cat memes, and I've seen that. I think Bad Cop showed that to me. It was very funny. Sorry if we're moving a bit slow today. It's been a week, you know. And having a day off in the middle of the week has just made me more lethargic. Set room bounds, new read-write buffer, new buffer read-write. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, this is a separate thing because it's a ref struct. And so it can hold the span. That's why the component doesn't have the span on it. Right. And that's why the component can't directly reference the buffer. I remember why the code works the way it works. Honestly, I could just pass in the span, huh? You're moving at the same pace to shenanigans? Hence the need for more coffee? Exactly. Nice. Nix, that sounds funny. You're back with ice cream instead of coffee? That sounds good. Where I live, a warm day is 70 degrees. It is so rarely ice cream weather, which is unfortunate because I love ice cream. I'm pretty sure... Hold on a second. Yeah. San Francisco is the birthplace of the It's It, the great ice cream sandwich where you take two cookies and you like smash a piece of ice cream between them, and then you usually dip the whole thing in chocolate. It's the best thing the city ever produced. Smooth in a second, hell yeah, exactly. You got the mint ones. Yeah, I like the cappuccino or coffee flavored one. Joe's has a cappuccino one that's really good, or coffee flavored, but so does the actual It's It brand. You love eating ice cream during winter. It's nice and cool and your ice cream doesn't melt. That's true. All right, okay, so we're going to set room bounds. We're passing in this buffer. Why is this a read-write? Oh, I know why it's a read-write buffer. But now it's a read-only buffer. Not that it matters. In a read-write, buffer read-write. Rooms. Okay, so now we can do this. And now we're going to go through a similar process to this. now what do we do? So we can do this. We can iterate through every block. 70 Fahrenheit sounds hot to you, but then again, that's in Fahrenheit and not Celsius. It is not hot. Let me see. Let me see what that's 21.1, repeating, of course, Celsius. It's nice, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that's like the upper limit of like our temperature most of the time, except for a given heat wave. You think they only ship vanilla, chocolate, and mint up the hill? Oh, that's a shame. Smooth in a second. Yeah, there's a coffee flavor one here. 21C is hot? Okay. Okay. You're like me. You have an internal temperature that's like similar to mine. Diginanigans, where you live, it goes anywhere from -15 to +85. Any time of year is ice cream time. Wow. Back in high school, you used to buy the chocolate-dipped ice cream cones on your way walking home in the middle of winter. Cones were always stale because I think you were the only one. Yeah, you probably were in the middle of winter. You used to live in a nice AC-cooled room that was 15 degrees Celsius constant. You guessed 64. Yeah, that is cool. I would consider that a little chilly. I have a very narrow range of appropriate temperature. Like, low 60s is too cold. High 60s is starting to get warm. Mid 60s is just right. Like, I love a nice 67, 68 Fahrenheit. But I'm a delicate California flower. All right, so I should probably actually write this function if it's the only thing I'm going to do on stream today. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the buffers. We're going to just... How do we want to do this? We should go through the bit field for each coordinate. So here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Man, this is where I really need... I can't do this right now, but this is really where I need the rooms of the block to be like an actual... I need this to be an actual thing, like a struct or something, instead of just a U-long, because I really want like a... I really want to be able to iterate through it. And I think right now I don't have a lot of great options for iterating through it. I think I have to literally just go through and I have to say if bit.has parts I. Yeah, it's not great. But that's fine. We can do that. We can do that another time. That's for refactor week. All right, so we're going to iterate through it all. We'll say if parts is 0, parts is 0, we're just going to say rooms 0 dot rooms dot span 0 dot, what do I call it? What is the function? What is the function that I wrote for this? I think I call it resize. Resize. I think that's right. We're gonna resize with towards. And then we're going to continue. This is dumb, but we're going to do this. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to say rooms dot span 0 equals block.aab, blocks.aabb. We're going to do it like that. That way we don't have to bother with this nonsense. We can just continue if we hit that. Otherwise, we'll go through this. I could see a world where we don't do this, where we actually set a specific bounding box for the exterior. But that we would only do that. Well, it makes sense now, but it's not going to make sense once we are dynamically resizing the. Because when we're done constructing, we're going to want to smoosh the bounding box down to what's actually being used, which we might actually be doing for this purpose. No, we're not, but we should. We should be doing it. All right, so we're gonna go through here, and this sucks. This is where I regret having. Yeah, this is where I regret not having better functionality for this. We have to say if bit.has parts I. We say rooms.span I.resize towards. In fact, this is so small, let's just do like that. Okay, so this is going to expand the bounding box for the room for every block that has been identified as being part of that room. And we're doing that here just because of the nonsense of having to change the size of the buffer potentially. Otherwise, we would just do this during the flood fill. It would be more efficient to do it during the flood fill, but because of the potential fact that we may need to resize the buffer, I don't want to do it in there. I think that's getting too... I'd rather just pay for the slight inefficiency and just do it here. And I think this is this whole function. And what we could do down here is, so we've got count. We could say... I don't really have a function to declare an empty span, do I? But I probably should. Can I just call that like clear buffer or something like that? Do I even want to do that? I have destroy buffer. Do we potentially want to clear a buffer to make it empty? No, because the buffer will always have at least one, right? Let me actually double check that. Compartmentalize. Static int. If bounds is volume 1, return 1. Oh. So... I see. Where are we incrementing partition count? You're heading out for a bit? Finally putting on the coffee. We'll be back. On the off chance you're not back, have a good weekend. Thanks, Shenanigans. You too. You too. No stream tomorrow. Too bad. I have a Bay Area Godot meetup, which is this in-person Godot meetup on the third Saturday of the month, which I guess is tomorrow. So I'll be doing that. So yeah, have a good weekend. I won't be here. At least this weekend. But hopefully the next time I stream on Tuesday, we will have put this whole thing behind us and we will be on to something Like serialization maybe, or undo redo, something very exciting. We'll have to check. I'm going to make a Kanban board, I swear. All right. So count could be 0. If count comes back as 0, what do I want to do? I think if count is 0, room buffer comp.length is equal to count. It would be count plus 1. I don't think I agree with how I'm constructing this. I don't really want to count the exterior as a room. But I also don't want to do a lot of fiddly bits where I'm like decrementing the index by 1 to like map the value of the bit field to like the index in the room buffer because we don't have 0, because 1 is mapped to 0, etc. Like I don't want to do that either. So I think it's okay for our purpose that we do this. Amanda, do I pay anything for OBS? No, OBS is free. It's open broadcasting software. I don't pay for anything. I know some people like to use other stuff like stream elements or whatever. They like add stuff onto it. But no, I don't pay anything for my streaming setup. Checking to make sure that's true. Yeah. All right, so we're able to set our room bounds. I'm just going to have it be a 1-to-1 mapping from the bit field value to the index. And that prevents us from needing to clear the buffer entirely, which is good. So the buffer will always be at least size 1. So let's handle the other case now, which is if room buffer.comp.length is not equal to count plus 1. Then what we need to do is the first thing we need to do is we need to say game.world.set buffer component room buffer. Is that not right? Oh, it needs both types. So room buffer AABB. I wish I didn't have to do it like this, but that's fine. You'd love to hear more about the plugins whenever. I can tell you, I literally use one plugin. I only do one thing, but that's because I don't have like a crazy alert system or anything like that. The only things I use is StreamerBot. StreamerBot is like so powerful and also free. So StreamerBot's really good. That's like a separate program. It's a portable program, but it has a lot of power. It's a little harder to set up maybe than like if you were just using Stream Elements or one of these other services, but it's pretty good. And then for multi-stream, I use a very particular plugin. That is TMP. This plugin. I'm running into some limitations with this plugin. Mainly, like, I was invited to do the 2K streaming on Twitch, but I don't do Twitch enhanced broadcasting because my primary output is not Twitch. My primary output is YouTube. So honestly, I think I would recommend maybe just streaming just to Twitch at first and setting up the enhanced broadcasting, because there's some additional stuff you can do, like with transcoding and everything, which is pretty cool. Unless you very particularly want to also stream on YouTube slash Kick or whatever else you said. It's a little harder. It's getting a little harder to manage that. So we're going to set buffer component. We need to set the entity. We need to set... Okay, it's the entity. This is wrong. The flag component dot flags dot room buffer. And oh, I need to set the array of values. Really? Why did I write this way? Can it not be a span? Values. Yeah, StreamerBot is like great for setting up. Like that's how I set up my like audio effects, like my fun stuff. My fun little voice stuff. Let me see if I can play a fun voice line right now.
You're out of your Vulcan mind, Spock.
I need to add a bunch more of those. But yeah, you can trigger a bunch of stuff to happen based on other things.
Your logic was impeccable, Captain.
There you go. All right, values.copy2 memorymarshal.cast byte to T2. Copy2. I don't love this. I don't love the way I've set this up. But I think I can work with it. And I can change it later. So what we actually need to do is we actually need... Here's the problem. I've set this up so that it just takes an array. I don't want it to take an array. I want it to take like a span. Can I rewrite this so that it takes a span? Like it would be like... It could just be span T2. Does this all work with this to being a span? Can we still say values.copy2? Copies the contents of this span into a destination span. Do I need to even do this then? Oh yeah, because I'm allocating this memory here. I wonder if I can do this without setting the value here. So I don't want to allocate a new span just to do this, but and then allocate another new span as the destination. I could make a version of this that doesn't include the values, right? I could make a version of this that includes the length. So I can make another, I can make an override of this. So I could do this, and instead of values, I could just say integer length, right? Because we're just setting the buffer component, yeah? Also, why is it like this? This should not be just t values. This should be like read-only span. Also, wait, why did I even do this? I don't like this function. I'm going to get rid of this function. I don't want to be doing this. All right, so here's a set buffer component that doesn't let you set the buffer. Where else am I using this? Anywhere? Nowhere. Yeah, I'm actually not going to allow this version where you set the... Yeah, we're getting rid of that. So you're only going to be able to pass in a length. Should I do it? Can I do it like this? Can I say like this? No. Okay, so it has to be like this. Component flag, type flag, size of the... yeah. Okay, I see why that's a problem. Okay, so when you set the buffer component, you just tell it what the length of the buffer should be. You can't actually pass in a new span, which I like because I don't actually want you to be able to do that. I want you to set the buffer component and then get the buffer that's been resized. I should have a safety check here. If memory length T2... Wait, what? Memory length is memory owner.length. Memory owner.length gets the number of items in the current instance divided by unsafe size of T2. Right. I'm going to say... I'm going to call this buffer length. Memory length T2 is not helpful to me. And so if this buffer length is greater than the length of the new buffer, I'm going to add a safety check here, which says if buffer length is exactly equal to length, just return. Just don't do anything. You don't need to do anything. It was a mistake to call this in that case. I don't want to throw an error because I feel like there's a world in which we do that on accident sometimes. You're back again? Coffee's steeping in the French press? Hell yeah. That is the best way to have coffee. It's in the French press. Nice song. Thanks. Yeah, we used Pretzel Rocks. This is Guru by Doug Blair. All right, okay. I'm much happier with the set buffer component function now. Oh, if I cast it here, if I do the memory cast here, do I just not need to know about T2? So if I write it like this instead, if I do the... Oh, we don't even do a cast now. Maybe it's better to not do a cast. We could say memory marshal dot cast. A cast is so cheap. Byte to... Oh, I would need to know the type of... okay, I would still need to know the type of the T2. Never mind. Never mind. It doesn't actually help with anything. Alright, so now we say set buffer component, settle blocks. Oh, game.world.settle blocks. And then here it would just be count plus 1. No, Chemex all the way. No, sorry. Chemex is good, don't get me wrong. But it's not as good as a French press. Nothing is as good as a French press. Just don't tell the French. They are already, their egos are already so inflated. All right, so first, we're going to set the buffer component to the correct size, and then we can just, actually, we should do it different. We should do it like this. Not equal to count 1. Do this. Radio is playing Amazing Grace for me, like I'm just like dying. I'm just dying here on stream. Okay, so we'll resize the component. We'll resize the buffer if necessary. And then we still just set the room bounds. Do I need to get... Ah, yeah, so we would need to do that. So this component would not be good anymore then. So I would need to get the component again. So we would set the buffer component and then get it again. I feel like there's a shortcut we could take there. I'm not going to take it because I don't think it's worth bothering with. I could call it set get. I could have a set get version of this function. Do you use a gooseneck kettle with the Chemex though? I have a gooseneck kettle. I like it, like a fellow gooseneck kettle. I use it for pour overs because I do pour overs. I just don't use a Chemex. I just have simple single cup drip. Gooseneck kettle's cool. I wish they could whistle. Because the number of times I've almost boiled out my kettle because I forgot I put it on. Chemex is good. It just takes too long. And the Pyrex, especially a modern Chemex, the Pyrex is not enough of an insulator. So the Chemex is just, it's nice, but the coffee is like not hot enough when it's done. Especially if you're making a full Chemex, like for more than one person. And putting coffee on a hot plate, if you're not in a diner, it's a crime. Did I know it has an Easter egg? It has a snake game? The fellow gooseneck? No, I didn't know that. Chemex sounds like a drug. Yeah, it does. It sounds like a RimWorld drug. Maybe I'll write a set get later, but I don't care enough right now. This is sufficient. What we've got going on here. Okay, so this gets us our list, our bounding boxes. Oh, so there's one problem with this, I think, and it's the way that I initialize an AABB. Let me see. I'm actually not sure you can resize an empty bounding, an empty AABB. What do I have? What's this up here? Thought I saw another resize. Oh, that's a static resize. What you do is you preheat the Chemex and filter with hot water first. Then you pour that hot water into your mug after like a minute. Then make the coffee. When the coffee's ready, the mug is hot from the hot water. Former Seattle coffee snob there. No, that sounds like a fine process. Fine process. I do exactly the same thing you do. I just use a single cup Melita. Like a ceramic single cup Melita. Oh, believe me, I'm a coffee snob. Smooth in a second, you do that too. What I've done, which I found is like the ultimate Chemex hack, is you use the metal filter and the paper filter together. You nest a paper filter, a Chemex paper filter inside the metal filter, and it speeds up the brewing process. That I find acceptable, because otherwise the Chemex brewing process is just so slow. And I don't need over-extracted coffee. I don't mind. I don't mind if it's a little under-extracted either. Believe me, coffee. I'm a coffee snob here, too. But yeah, go get a French press. They're like $18. And they're good. They're good. Hey, Fusionist. How's it going? Yeah, it breaks the vacuum. Smooth in a second. Breaks the vacuum and speeds it up a lot. Honestly, you could just do the metal filter by itself, but I find the metal filter by itself, I don't love that either. But the combination I enjoy a lot. All right, I think I have a bit of a problem. How's it going, Fusionist? So if I resize and I pass in a vector, so the problem is the AABB here. If I resize an empty AABB, I'm just gonna get. I think it'll expand off of minimum with a minimum and maximum of 0, and I'm a little concerned about what that would look like. So the AABB has a parameterless constructor. So how does the parameterless constructor work then? Fusionist, I'm absolutely correct on the French press. Mocha pot is also a cheap option if you want a more espresso-ish coffee. Yeah, those are nice. They're a little messy sometimes. You're good. What have I been working on today? We're trying to wrap up the cutaway system. There's some edge case stuff that I don't like, and I'm looking at a simpler way to do it. But of course, that's causing me to go on a crazy sideway, like a tangent. So we're currently in the midst of a tangent here. I'm trying to understand. So can I say this? Can I say vector 3D, vector 3i dot maximum, max value? What if I do this? So this is like the default construction, right? And it will be overwritten. And as long as we don't try to pass that in, it will work. This is like super broken, but it might fix the resize. Otherwise, I'm not sure how to do it. But I think if I make the minimum the max value and the maximum the min value, then when we try to resize the correct, if we try to resize, it will be resized to a AABB of size 1. Because yeah, it'll look at the minimum and it'll look at the chords, and the chords will be smaller than the minimum, and they'll also be larger than the maximum. Okay, I think that'll work. A side episode. I'm trying to be done with the cutaway system. At least on stream. I want to wrap it up this weekend. Diginanigans, you care more about getting good beans than specifically how it's brewed. French press is good and convenient. Having an espresso, you have an espresso machine that's annoying to clean. Diginanigans, you get yours from a local coffee shop. Usually get a medium roast Italian blend. Nice. Yeah, I don't like super dark roasts, but I'm also not like a blonde roast kind of guy. So yeah, something medium bodied is nice. I'm not terribly opinionated. If I'm backed into a corner, you know, like if I'm on vacation or something, I'll always pick like Pete's over Starbucks or something like that. But there's some good roasters. There's actually quite a few roasters nearby. There's a coffee roaster that's like operates out of like the back of a house in like a little coffee shop. There's multiple of those in my neighborhood. It's pretty cool. So there's some fun stuff to try. Little home coffee roasters in like these big, you know, bottom floor little coffee shops. You like a light roast, Amanda? Your favorite coffee shop in California was Highwire. Nice. You don't have a favorite shop out east there? You just go for Whole Foods? Yeah, that's reasonable. Fusionist, a friend told you an anecdote the other day. Their parents have always roasted their own coffee and used to do it out of a popcorn machine. Oh yeah. That's a awesome home brew way to do it. You can get one of those, you don't even need a popcorn machine. You could get one of those like popcorn skillets. Like it's like a cover for like a skillet that you can just use on a stovetop. You can just homebrew coffee roasting. The smell can get pretty strong, I think, if you do it in a home kitchen, but coffee is everything. Always whole bean and grind yourself. Oh yeah. One of the only real coffee crimes one can do is to buy ground coffee. Yeah. All for the love of the game, yeah. Yeah. All right, okay. I think I addressed my parameterless AABB issue. I hope. So this should work now, because the thing is we're calling resize on an AABB that hasn't been declared yet. But now the default value should be okay for us. If you try to use an AABB with default values, it will be not good. But that's a separate problem. So we are making access align bounding boxes for every compartment in the ship. And now we should be able to use that further along in the process here. And so we probably don't have time to implement this whole thing, but I'm going to see what we can do. Fusionist, you used to buy ground coffee. You didn't realize back then there were viable budget grinders you could own. Oh yeah, even just a $20 chopper spice grinder blade thing. Totally fine. Yeah, I've heard it's something like ground coffee loses 50% of its aromatics in 24 hours. Which is not great. I don't know 100% of what that means, but it doesn't sound good. All right, so private void. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like, do we use a mask? Let's call this mask room cutaways, because we're not going to be doing it. Well, we can say mask block cutaways by room. And we could say buffer 3D read only block blocks. We can say buffer read only AABB rooms. You'd buy ground coffee, Fusionist, and it would gradually taste worse. Wasn't too bad, but very noticeable. Yeah, stale coffee is pretty noticeable. No Jewel, probably similar as tomatoes lose flavor in the fridge. Oh, interesting. Diginanigans, you'd imagine that would depend heavily on how well it's stored too, and the humidity of where you are. Well, I know it's very much based on surface area. So obviously ground coffee has exponentially higher surface area than whole bean coffee. So even if you hermetically seal the coffee, there's still this process of like the fats being pulled out. The like oils, it's not the fats, the oils are getting pulled out from the bean and then they're going stale in the air. So eventually you get that like rancid oil taste. It's almost like, I mean, people have had that rancid oil taste. It's very nutty. It's very weird. And it's not good. It's not like a good kind of nutty. All right, so if we mask the block cutaways by room, that means I guess the first thing we do, I guess we basically do almost exactly the same process, but we're going to do it based off of the bounding boxes. So we say like, so what we should do is, well, first we should clear the cursory mask. So that's what we're doing down here. Vector 3i cursor coords equals game.input.cursor coords. Let's just do this. So what I don't have and what I really want, and I think I'm going to implement this soon, is I really want like a rooms thing to be like a, or maybe I'll just make a bit field. I really need to make a bit field class, or not class, a struct. I understand why bit array is a class. I really don't want to use bit array. I can't. I straight up can't use bit array. So I want to make some bit field classes. I want to make like bit field 64, bit field 32, bit field. I want to make bit fields that are bigger, that are like, that have some internal logic to be able to do it, like bit field 128. The problem is that doesn't totally square with, I actually wonder if that would work. If you could have different, if you could in the dynamic buffer for the rooms, I wonder if you could intermix different structs. I wonder if you could intermix bitfield 32 and bitfield 64, bitfield 128, because I want a system that can grow and not be constrained by stuff. I mean, I'll probably be forced to just use the whatever the largest one is. But I'm curious. I wonder if we can do something like that. Fusionist, do I have to water those? Are we talking about fridge tomatoes? The bit fields? Oh. All right, I'm leaving. Goodbye. That was really good. You're killing me here. All right, so here's the part where our process diverges. We don't have to do this iteration thing. So what we do need to do is we do need to build a new AABB. So we say cursored rooms. Oh, we already have a cursored rooms. We could say cursored bounds equals. Oh, this needs to be for integer I equals 0. I is less than 64. I plus plus. Oop. Snoozing the ads. Snoozing the ads. So this is about our 5-minute warning. I have some laundry to do before my next bit of work. I know I've been doing a terrible job at streaming for like 3 hours, which is like the amount of time I want to hit. We've been like barely been able to maintain 2 hours. I really need to get up to 3 hours because hardly anyone even notices I'm streaming for the first like hour and a half. So when I do 2 hours, it's like people show up and then I'm like, bye. And it is not viable. So I'm working on widening this time I have in the middle of the day to stream, but I'm sorry, I'm not quite there yet. But I'm working on it. Hopefully, we're in an exceptionally busy time at work. Hopefully it's going to slow down soon. It's kind of seasonal at work anyway. We get really busy at the beginning of summer, and then it should quiet down soon. So in a second, is that addressed at me? OT. Okay. What does OT stand for? Off topic. Okay. Have I heard of peak? Yeah, I was in Discord when that was brought up. Were you guys playing last night? It sounded like you were. Nix, having a public schedule could help as well. You know, I mentioned I'm on stream when the next one will be. Maybe having a table, it would be useful. It's supposed to be the same time, Tuesday through Saturday. It just never works out that way. But yeah, I should post it somewhere. I should post it on the channel page or something. Or use Twitch's like schedule feature to like lay it out. But yeah, it's supposed to be like from around 11 to around 2 Pacific, Tuesday through Saturday. But there's always something. Like yesterday was a federal holiday. Tomorrow is my in-person Godot meetup. There's always something keeping me from hitting the schedule. But yeah, I could work on my consistency. I should post the schedule more obviously or explicitly. Because it needs to be a habitual thing. That's what I've learned. If people are going to be showing up every day, I need to be very consistent about time and days. Cursor bounds. Or, yeah, I'm going to write this helper function or this helper struct. I'm going to do it. I'm tired of this because otherwise we have to iterate through every single one. I want like a bit.next. I want like a bit.next I, cursor grooms I. Could I just make that? So we have clear count, we have first. I have first, which is like find the first one. I have last, just find the last one. What I don't have is next. Why is the constant all the way down here? Because it's a static class? Shouldn't the constant be above the static class? Whatever, who cares? But yeah, I need to make a something. I want to do a next, so it would be like, but the problem is if I do it this way as a static function, it would need to be like public int static int next, and it would be like ulong field integer index, and it would be like, so you'd pass in the last index and it would find the next index after it, so it would be like for variable I. Well, here we go. What we would say is we'd say integer next equals -1. And then we would say for variable I equals index I is less than, or it would be I equals index plus 1. We could say if index is equal to 63, return -1. Next, so what is the current problem? Am I still working on the room outer wall being twice as thick as it's supposed to be when there's a wall between the two rooms? I'm working on the cutaway system is kind of working correctly for the compartment that the cursor is in, but as it propagates out, there's a lot of edge cases and weird things happening. So I'm exploring an alternative where we use bounding boxes to govern that behavior instead of trying to make these very precise masks. And the masks are cool because they can handle unusual shapes, but they're also very touchy. Whereas if we just use bounding boxes, it's going to be really easy to build out the occlusion space that you want to cut away. And so I'm exploring that. Yeah, it would be a lot simpler than what we're currently doing. It would not work perfectly in all cases, but I think it might work well enough that we can just be happy with it and move on rather than spend all this time dealing with all the edge cases this other way. But we're not going to do it right now. I have to go. I just want to write this little next function. For a variable I, for integer I, equals index plus 1. I is less than 64. I plus plus. We should say if it's greater than or equal to 63. But yeah, I really want to just make a actual struct here. Okay, well, this will work for now. This will give us the next in a series. Oh yeah, they would only work in a box room. Yeah, but I think that would be good enough, right? Like, it would just expand the cutaway slightly to be a box. And I think most of the time that would be fine. Because the way the cutaway works is it doesn't actually cut away stuff inside the box. It works on the edges of the box and beyond. So I think it would generally be okay. I think it would generally be okay, but I really just want to try it and see if it works. So this is going to be my weekend project. Like I said, I have an in-person Godot meetup tomorrow, so I will have 6 hours to work on this tomorrow, along with some other stuff. We're also going to work on, so that we can come back and work smart next week and beyond, I'm going to make a Kanban board for the tile block editor, and it's going to have all the stuff we need to do for version 1 of the tile block editor. Godot meetup? Yeah, no, Jewel, we have, official is a strong word. There's a Bay Area Godot meetup. Shout out Amanda. And that meets on the 3rd Saturdays. It meets in San Francisco. So it's a rare in-person event. It's not official in that we're not associated with the Godot Foundation, but it is nice. And we've met all the Godot Foundation people. We've had both of the Godot founders there at the meetup. We've had Juan Lenitsky and Ariel Menzer at the meetup. Not the same meetup, but it's good. It's cool. It's nice. It's nice to see people in person that work with the engine. So I'm doing that tomorrow, so no stream tomorrow. This has been a nice Friday. It's been nice and chill. It's been a good time. I swear we are not working on the cutaway system on stream. Starting next week. We're not going to do it. I'm just going to get it to a point where I'm reasonably happy with it, and we are going to move on to some more exciting things like serialization. We do have their stamp of approval, so to speak. Yeah, there's any other, Bay Area user groups, we beat them up like warrior style. So we're the only one. Take care, everyone, and have a good weekend. Took the words right out of my mouth, to shenanigans. I want to thank everyone so much for watching. I hope you all have a great weekend. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Maximum warp. Maximum warp.